for Muhammad Ali, born January 17, 1942 at 6:35 p.m. in Louisville, Kentucky. If you looked at the eastern horizon when he was born, the constellation of Cancer was rising at 26 degrees and 29 minutes. This becomes this degree becomes the most effective point of every house. Any planet that's within 5 degrees of that 26 degrees becomes has very strong impact, like Venus at 27 and Saturn at 28 degrees. Let's also look and see what the functional benefic and malefic planets are. So any multiconal sign, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11, that falls in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th house, its ruler becomes a functional malefic planet. So the 9th sign of Sagittarius falls in the 6th house of conflicts and enemies, and it is ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter becomes functional malefic. And the 11th sign of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, falls in the 8th house, so Saturn becomes functional malefic. All the other planets are functional benefic planets, except Rahu and Ketu, which are functional malefics for every sign. So let's look at how the planets are operating and when the planets are operating and what we can do to fix the chart. Fix your chart, fix your life. Sun is ruling the 2nd house of wealth and recognition and speech, and it's just slightly weak. Any planet that's less than 5 degrees or more than 25 degrees becomes weak. Any planet that falls in a house whose dispositor or landlord is weak becomes weak. Any planet that's afflicted or conjunct a functional malefic planet or is afflicted becomes weak. So, or if it's combust too close to the sun. So, Sun is slightly weak. Sun represents leadership and government and father, and it again rules this house of wealth and recognition, and it's in the 7th house of partnerships. So, this gives him fame through leadership and partnerships, and because it's slightly weak, it can give him some legal issues with the draft. He was a conscientious objector and had a lot of trouble with the government because of his faith, his Muslim faith. He refused to kill anyone. Moon is at 19 degrees. It rules this 1st house of appearance, life purpose, and longevity. And so it gave him very good or handsome appearance. It's in the 7th house of relationships and gave him ability to work with the public, being in the public eye. It's afflicted by Jupiter. So Moon, ruling this house of the head, and it's being afflicted by Jupiter, which is ruling the house of health and conflicts, gave him a concussion to the head. Mars is very powerful in this chart. It's in its own. So the 10th house. It's ruling the 10th house, and it's in its own house. And Mars has to do with sports, competition, aggressive activity. And so it gave him career through boxing, competitive sports. And Mercury is ruling this 3rd house of communications and speech, and entrepreneurial success, and it's conjunct to Moon. So and it's also afflicted by Jupiter. So Mercury represents nervous system, and Jupiter represents health, and so it's this affliction can cause issues with his nervous system. So um, that he later developed, due to his concussions, later developed the disease of Parkinson's disease, which has to do with the nervous system. So Jupiter at 18 degrees rules the sixth house of health and conflict, and is in the 11th house of income. So it says that through conflict and sports, he can gain income, and also gave him the ability to write and teach. He published several books. It is okay, and then Venus is at 27 degrees, ruling the house of family. And so it's weak due to old age. Old people cannot protect themselves. And it gave him a, a, in its aspecting within 5 degrees the first house. So Venus gave him this handsome appearance. Venus has to do with beauty, and gave him ability to perform. He was a performer of sorts in the boxing ring. He had great speech, persuasive speech, and so because it's weak, though, it created this issue with wives and family life. He had multiple marriages. That was due to that one aspect of Venus. Saturn is at 28 degrees, also close to the rising sign degree, and it rules the eighth house of setbacks, delays, obstacles, and it's in this 10th house. So he had some ups and downs to his career due to his issues with the government over the military. They took his status away from him for about 4 years. Now, Rahu, and also it's afflicting this house of partnerships and marriage, and Venus, which is wives. So this also had to do with his multiple marriages, and he did perform a lot of service work, and Saturn also is the leader of the masses. So yeah, he had all that going on. Rahu is at 21 degrees. It's a functional malefic. It gave him ambition for fame. And K2 is in this house of spiritual growth through research, and he did a lot of research into spirituality and the Muslim religion. The remedies for the chart are wearing a kavash to strengthen Sun and Venus. Mars is already pretty strong. Um, Mercury and Moon would be good to strengthen as well. This would probably have helped with not having so many marriages. And Sun with his legal issues. Chants and charities to transform Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, and Saturn would have helped him a lot. Let's look at when the planets were operating. So he was born into a moon period, and Moon is again working with the public, gave him great leadership abilities, and this is the root of the tree of life. Kind of gives you, the focus of his life. During Rahu Mercury period, he won Summer Olympics and the heavyweight championship 64 and 68. During a Sun sub-period in 67, he refused military service and got in a lot of legal issues. In 1971, during a Jupiter period, um, he got that legal issues overturned, and again won the world championship in 74 and 78 during Venus periods. Um, in his the last part of his Rahu sub period, in 84, he got Parkinson's disease and died in the very end of Rahu sub period. Rahu gives material things and can take them away at the tail end of any Rahu sub period. Now, if you look at when he actually died, it was very interesting. Here's the outer ring has to do with the transits, and the inner ring has to do with where the planets were when he was born. So transits are where the planets are when he died. So you can see that Rahu and Jupiter, both functional malefics, were afflicting natal Rahu, and all within they're very close to the most effective point of every house. So they were just within, I think, 3 degrees. So this is what's called the triple transit affliction. And during those triple transit afflictions, it can cause a lot of issues, even death. So these are the points for Muhammad Ali's chart.